Okay, so I haven't said a single word into the camera in the last 5 days or so. And it's because of the nails. The nails in the wall, the thousands of nails in the wall, they kind of swallowed us alive. But right now, all of those little buggers are out and the hallway is actually almost completely finished for now. And it is ready to be decorated, so that's exciting. This is actually the last day of us being here, and I haven't even unpacked my things yet. Because what seemed like the most important thing to do 2 weeks ago, all of a sudden lost its importance when we arrived here at this beautiful house, and a little space that to some might just looked broken and sad and ugly called out my name because what I saw was something different. I guess it is all about perspective and about that there is never just one way of looking at things. To some people, this piece of wallpaper just looks damaged and moldy and like something that has a funny smell. But what I see is the excitement that the person who designed this must have felt whilst doing that. And the joy that the person who bought it must have felt whilst putting it up. And I also see a promise to the future because what I see is the potential to reuse it in a unique and interesting way. The holes in the wallpaper remind me that nothing has to be perfect, and the smell, that smell just makes me feel happy and I don't even have to know why. And I think that this is one of the most beautiful things about life because we all have the choice to see things exactly the way we want. As for this little entryway, I choose to see a playground. Yay! This right now is the first little space that Rogier and I created together. And all of the things are just things that we both love. I don't know, it feels like a little promise of how the future in this house is going to feel. And it feels really nice. So I'm excited about doing a little bit of decorating. Now I'm also excited about the thrift stores in Sweden. And yes, there is a thrift haul coming up next week. Because the thrift stores are everywhere and they are the most incredible treasure troves. For people like me who love everything vintage. And talking about treasures, by the way, here are some nice things that we found when we cleared out the closet in the entryway all the way in the beginning before we started working on it. In this closet we found a box full of old hardware filled with old hinges and old door handles that we are probably going to try to reuse somewhere in the house. An old sign that, like many of the things in the house, came from Denmark. The same for this train ticket from the 60s. A little collection of bright yellow containers and a very old and very heavy cast iron waffle maker that we are probably never going to use because I am still on a zero carb diet after how long has it been? Over a year now? Anyway, I absolutely loved this old bottle that has linseed oil in it. And this little empty film roll container, a bottle of furniture oil and a flower pot that I absolutely loved because it looked like something that my grandmother would have bought. So we, as in me and Rogier, had zero plans to do any DIY jobs when we drove here. The only thing that we were planning to do was just to unload the trailer and to unpack a couple of things. And besides that, the plan was to have long walks in the forest and warm cups of tea on the porch. And you know what happened with this little hallway that was supposed to be a tiny little project was what usually happens when you do DIY jobs in a very old house. It just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then there were all of the thousands of nails in the wall that somebody used to put up all kinds of layers of cardboard and wallpaper and some sort of a hard wood plate material that was used to insulate the walls. And it just took so many hours to take all of these nails out because they were very long and also made out of a very soft material. So you needed to be really careful with just pulling them out because otherwise the heads of the nails would bend. Anyway, it was just a lot of work, and most of the work was done at night because the days are very short right now over here in Sweden, and I didn't bring any film lights, so I also skipped on many of the jobs that we did just simply because of a lack of light. And it wasn't all that interesting because it was mainly just doing the same thing for hours on end. It turned out really beautiful though, and I think that the last thing that I filmed was painting the door trim in a color that I absolutely hated. So I actually decided to paint everything in a different color after that. And right now, I absolutely love it. So now there is one thing that we have to ignore, and it is the color of the doors, because I'm actually going to bring all of the doors with me to the Netherlands. And then I'm going to sandblast all of the paint off, because I want to see how this is going to look with all of these doors in this hallway just being plain wood, because I think that it is going to look very beautiful, and we might decide to paint the doors in the future. But first I think that we want to live with the doors just being wood for a while, because it might just be the way to go. So I don't know how it is going to turn out, but I do have to say that I feel excited about bringing a little bit of a Sweden project with me over there, because it is going to allow me to stay connected to this house. To me it feels like my life in the Netherlands is done. The thing is though that it is not just about me, because Rogier is also a part of this, and he needs to say goodbye to his old life, and he still needs to sell his house, and he needs to pack his things, and he needs to say goodbye to his business that he started too. And this is just this whole huge thing that he needs to go through, that I already went through when I gave up on my house. And I really want to support him in doing it in the right way, because I couldn't do it in a really healthy and nice way at all. And this means that I do understand how important it is to say goodbye in a just relaxed and good and positive way when you are going to start a completely different life in a new place. Okay, so now the heater. I need to turn on the heater. So right now it is about 3 o'clock. Oh, and it's already starting to become dark. Oh, and by the way, this is a little shelf that I bought in a thrift store in Amsterdam for my old house, but I never got around to hanging it anywhere, and right now I finally found a place for it over here in my new house. And this is just really nice. It feels like it belongs, just like me. So now the question is, do I want to add this painting that I also bought for my home in Amsterdam and that I never found a place for over here to this hallway too? And I'm not sure, because I also have a couple of other things that I bought in a thrift store that I really want to add to this wall and to the shelf. So So now I actually already do have a couple of nails in the wall over here because Rogier and I did a little bit of decorating yesterday. So we decided to hang these plates over here on the wall. And I think that this is so lovely. So right now we can't turn on this light because there isn't any electricity down there, but we will fix that when we go back here, and this is going to be right after Christmas. So it is not going to take that long. And this is exciting, you know, just little things to look forward to. Okay, so now I found a couple of beautiful frames that I'm just going to add to the shelf, even though there's nothing in it, just because I really like the colors. So now we are actually going to create something in there that looks like a old-fashioned outhouse, and we are even going to reuse one of the outhouses that we have over there in the barn. Now all of the 4 outhouses that we have in the barn are also little playgrounds that we need to jump around in. Although we are probably only going to keep one, and then we are obviously going to spruce it up a little bit, and then we are going to use one of the beautiful wooden seats for the half bath that we are going to create on the inside of the closet. It is not going to be old-fashioned because there is going to be a modern toilet underneath it, so it is just going to be a normal flushing toilet that is going to look like it has been here for over 200 years. And I can't wait, because I'm so excited about doing projects like that. Now, this is just temporary crisis management until we have time to really turn this into something amazing. Oh, and there's also going to be wainscoting on the bottom of the walls, just like we have in other areas. So that means that we are going to exactly duplicate the wainscoting, and we are going to make it ourselves, and then we are going to put it back. And we actually also had the plan to add beautiful little double doors over here in this wall instead of just one single door. But right now I am having doubts because I absolutely love this corner that we have. So do we really want an empty wall with just the doors in it? I don't know. Oh, it's really dirty. Okay. Oh, and there also was this little shelf that I found in the barn. Now there's a lot of stuff up here that we need to sort, and some of these things are very interesting, like this little sink. Right now though, I want to take a look at this shelf because it looks kind of ugly, but it might be fun. This was what I was planning to hang, but then Rogier said that he really liked the big one. And I agreed, because he was right, it was a lot better. So now I think that I want to take this one back home, because maybe this is going to be nice in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the dog?
I love the dog.
You love the dog?
Yes.
Is it better with the painting or without the painting?
No, it's better with painting.
Yeah, it's nice, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a warm color up there too, instead of just the green things. Yeah. It's quirky and
What's the book doing there?
The book is just there because when I see it, I feel happy.
Can my Pippi Langkous book goes over there also?
There's an antique Pippi Langkous, Pippi Langstrumpf, Pippi Langstocking book that he bought, and it's adorable and a little bit lost, I think.
The house is so big.
The house is so big, he says. Oh yeah, it's yellow. I hate it. In here. No, I don't. I don't hate it. It's cute. It's an adorable little book, but I don't really know if it needs to be in here though, here, because I don't think that my brain is going to cope all that well with all of the yellow right now. So, can we add it to your windowsill maybe? Huh?
No.
No?
No.
Shit.
Now it's finished!
No, Rogier, I can't do it. It's a little bit of a misfit. No! It's a fake geranium. Well, it's a vibe. For sure. And I don't even know if you can see the colors really well, but it's a very dark green, and then on the floor we have a little bit of a lighter version of the green. And it fits the school really well. And we also decided not to paint the baseboards and the frame or the trim around the door over here. Even though it's not even the same color and the same, how do you call it, profile? This actually doesn't even fit together, but you know, it's a thing. So now we also had the plan to add one of these windows above the door in the wall. And this is because these are the windows that we also have above the doors of the outhouses in the barn. And we found 2 extra that were left over, and I think that this would be so much fun.